I'm delighted to welcome Peter Stewart, who's the Executive Director of the Eden Project, who started the Big Lunch initiative. Peter, great to have you in the studio. I'm a huge fan of the Eden Project. I should just declare that, put that on the table.
Brilliant.
I remember when it started. I'm delighted it's been so successful.
Yep.
So tell us about the Big Lunch, why you started it and what's going on today around the country.
Yeah, thank you. And as you say, Big Lunch started in 2009. And at Eden, we have lots of ideas. And there was one idea that we had back in 2008, 2009 about what would it be like if you could stop the whole of the country for 4 hours and have people sit down and have lunch with their neighbours. So the idea was to say, if you do that, then good things will flow. So the thing about, wouldn't it be great if, if you've got Thanksgiving Day in the States, would this be a moment where people just stop for 4 hours and do that? And so we went for it, and we went for it, and a few thousand people did it. And then, as you say, the Diamond Jubilee came along in 2012. We had conversations with the royal households, and we got involved. And from 2012, it seemed to go in a completely different direction.
And it's an annual thing, right?
And it's an annual thing now.
But obviously it peaks during sort of special royal years.
Absolutely. So, at the moment, so we usually have about 6 to 7 million people participate.
And it's always this time of year, marking Her Majesty's coronation back in 1953.
We've got it in the first weekend in June, and so that coincides.
It's a good time of year because the kids are still at school.
Yeah. Weather's better.
Weather's a bit better. Yeah. If it was like August, people would be away and so on.
Yeah, people kind of go away, so it kind of works. It kicks the summer off in a really, in a good time. And you've got all these other sporting events going on. Scotland is important, and in terms of, there's a way that the school holidays break away. So we found that kind of sweet spot in there.
Yeah.
And so, and from that time, it's kind of built social capital on a mass scale. The difference about this weekend that we're in now is that in a normal year, we would have about 7,000 packs that people do it. At the moment, as just coming into this studio, we're about, 200 or 300 short of 100,000 packs.
So tell us what's in a pack. What's
so in a pack,
is it
you
bunting?
Can download it now, you can, and sometimes people are nervously and about knocking next door and things like that. So it gives you the confidence to be able to do it. So even though the weekend is upon us and there are thousands of things happening, that it's not too late. You can actually reach out to your neighbour across the fence, knock on the door, pull 3 chairs out, have a sandwich, and you're part of the whole thing.
Based on the number of information packs that have been downloaded, how many people do you think are currently sitting down to lunch and will sit down to lunch together over this 4-day long bank holiday weekend due to this initiative?
So we're looking at the numbers and we're saying it feels like 200,000 events, which would equate to somewhere in the region of about 12 million people. Is where we're at, and you've got to think. I mean,
that's like more than 1 in 5 people.
Well, you look at the Diamond.
We're like 66 million people, right?
Look at the Diamond Jubilee.
Yeah.
I mean, can you remember the weather? You can talk about it, but the weather was not great on that day. 8.5 million people came out then 10 years ago. Now there's the whole 7.
I do like lunch and a cagoule.
I think if you're selling cagoules this weekend, I think you're going to do OK. But let's not get put off about that weather. But, it's great.
What have you learnt about your country with this initiative? It's obviously, it comes from a good place.
I think what this, at its essence, it's about bringing people together. And I think what we've learned is that everybody has different views and they care about different things. What the spirit of the Big Lunch is about is celebrating the commonality that we all have through where you actually live. And from that, really, really good things kind of flow, which is why the National Lottery kind of supported it. And I think long term, when you think about the global issues to do with, how the conflicts and everything else, climate change, if you took that, this idea actually brings about more resilient communities and people feel happier and safer. And if you can do that, then you can actually start to take on the massive issues that we all face.